Morning,
This
everyone.
conference
Thank
will
you.
now be recorded.
Thanks for that, Laura. Good afternoon,
Yep.
everyone. All right, this is going to be a little bit more of a conversation, so to speak. So do not be shy and put your stuff in the chat or come off mute and answer some of the questions and make some comments and different things like that. All right, we can go to the next slide.
Yep.
So every meeting I do, whether at GM or any place I've been, I've always started with a safety message. And this safety message is about social distancing. I'm a huge Detroit Lions fan. I'm a homer, and that is the Lombardi Trophy. I'm pretty sure if anybody knows football, NFL, Lombardi Trophy is the championship trophy. At the end of the year, someone gets it held, holds over their head. The Lions are social distancing themselves from the Lombardi Trophy. So this is my social distancing safety message. Please continue everyone to social distance. Hopefully the Lions will win it this year, though. All right, Lauren, next slide, please.
Yes.
All right. So, question for you guys. All right, logistics. What is logistics? What does logistics mean to you? If someone come off mute and tell me what it means to them. I see somebody coming off mute.
So I would define logistics as the process of getting goods and services or a good from the producer to the user. Anything in terms of transportation, whether it be air, bus, car, whatever transportation route, and then that whole process. Excuse me.
All right, I like that. I like that explanation. I like that. So, what you guys are going to notice in my slides is going to be a lot of things that looks very similar to each slide. It's going to be a formatting, and as we go through the supply chain, you're going to see some of these things are going to sound the same, going to look the same, and there's going to be different variations of it. So, when we look at business B2B sales, which is business to business sales, logistics, you got to start with the sales part of it, the aspect of it. All right, so everything she said, I didn't catch her name. I should have got your name, but everything she said in that part of it started with the sales, part of it is going to end with sales. So the sales aspect is a huge part of it. So when you look at business to business sales and logistics, you're going to say, how do I get the first contract, or how do I get the contract to carry their product? And that's going to be the very first step, is finding another business that has a good, and you're going to have the service that's going to deliver that product to the end user. Second part of it is going to be a carrier procurement. You're going to find a carrier that gets the product and delivers the product to you. So now you're still doing business to business sales, but we'll get back to the carrier procurement part of it. Carrier procurement, you got to find the person that's going to do everything that you need to do, whether it's scheduling the delivery for the right time, handling the right weight, things like that, all the laws that goes with the different states. They have to know all that stuff. So when you're a logistics, you have to know some of those things as well. So you're going to have someone in your company. It might be you that is expert at all the laws and things like that. So product management is another part of it. When you go to the product management, you're managing, what am I carrying? Do I need a dry van? Do I need to have a steel hauling van? Different type of equipment that's going to deliver the product. So that's all a part. Everything she said in that definition is defined into everything you see on this slide for far as logistics. And a few other nuances that we're not going to talk about today, but perfect examples. Lauren, next slide, please. All right, transportation. So when we look at carriers, we're talking about transporting the goods. Can someone tell me different modes of transportation to deliver goods? You got to come off mute. I'm pretty sure somebody's talking.
Oh, Ariel says plane.
Say that one more time, please.
Plane, train,
Yep.
automobiles.
Plane, trains, and automobiles. So I'm pretty sure I'm dating myself, but that is a great movie. Pretty good of a movie. Um, you also have ships. You got bicycles. You got cars. You got all kind of things. Anything that you can carry and transport a product to give to someone is going to be considered transportation. So when you're doing transportation and logistics, we're going to keep saying logistics. Transportation is a part of the supply chain that is mandatory. So you're probably seeing a lot of people talking about trucking is going automated. Trucking, some people think trucking is going to go away. And my viewpoint, just things from Jason, I don't think you can ever get rid of trucking. I don't think that's something that will ever happen because it's a direct mode. Just like you can put things on a train, you still have to get the stuff to the train. You still have to get the products to the train. The products are going to get to the train by a mode of transportation, which normally is going to be a truck, some type of semi truck. Now, a lot of people don't want to go into transporting items and different things like that as a job. Things are changing in that aspect, which is why we're seeing a lot of automated things. But even when you have the automated trucks and things like that, you're going to have someone that's traveling with that equipment, that's controlling that equipment, maybe from the front, from the back. They're still trying to figure those type of things out, but they have those things already existing in our time. So going into the business to business sales, as a transportation company, I have to go out and say, I need to carry somebody's goods and deliver that, which is going to be finding a customer. So let's say a transportation company like Swift. Swift will go to a logistics company like XPO Logistics, and get a contract with them to carry the goods. The goods that XPO is contracting with them are not XPO's goods. However, XPO has had signed a contract with, let's say, GM, for example, to carry parts. So now you have three different businesses that's doing business to business sales, and all a part of one supply chain. So that particular supply chain will start with GM. All right. We're going to come back to the backside of this, because the supply chain goes from front to back, but it also goes from back to front. It's going to be one thing that you guys are going to see in the supply chain that's going to always trigger the next movement, and that person or persons will be the customer. All right. Can someone tell me what kind of customers could a transportation company have? Anyway.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What types of customers can a transportation company have?
Wholesaler, retailer.
And have you ever thought of a transportation company being able to be their own customer as well?
Yeah, they can transport something to another. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, that's possible.
So one thing with everything we have, when you start talking about customers and managing different customers and different things like that, customers not always outside. Sometimes you have internal customers as well. So with the transportation company, they can have their own storage facility where they might store things, and it might be for them or it might be for another customer. But even if it's for another customer, they would normally have two different departments that will be a customer for that particular department. So if I'm a customer for my storage side of the transportation, maybe that company is still, that inside person is still paying me it's still paying me. It might just be an internal payment that's going along, which makes them a customer. All right. So when you're doing the transportation aspect of it, you're going to have a business management side of it as well. The business management side of it is going to be managing the people, managing the schedule, because even if you have a schedule coming from XPO, you still have to have a position that's going to manage that particular schedule with all the different trucks to keep everything moving along. So some people call that a dispatcher. Some people call it an operations manager. There's different terms depending on the different companies. So as you guys going through your going through your careers, if you're going to be in supply chain, you're going to see it's different stages that you can be at in the supply chain that's going to be able to get you to the next stage, and understanding the stages before that is going to definitely come in handy. Freight management is one of those things that's very tedious. If you're a minute late, you can lose a lot of money for that particular client. So all that's going to be revolving around contracts and things like that. But you're not going to really get into a contract today, but you guys get where I'm going with that. All right, Lauren, can you please go to the next slide? All right. Can anyone tell me give me a big company that's a production company?
Ford.
Ford is a great one. So Ford makes cars, Ford makes parts. Ford also has OEM parts that they do not produce that they'll also bring into the facility. So let's say you have a parts distribution center for Ford. So Ford is their own customer for the parts distribution center. They make those parts. They have to produce those parts, and then they also have to ship those parts. Okay? So part of the production process is getting in the raw material, which is another part of the supply chain. So you get in your raw materials, which may come from China, may come from a local steel customer. It may come from a local customer that also builds kits. So it might have a kit for, let's say, a fender or a fascia, things like that. And that kit is already built, and all they have to do is take those and put them into a box, prepare them to be shipped out to the dealership, shipped out to a end user, consumer, things like that, which is still part of the B2B sales. You have the internal customers, you have the outside customers, and that's what starts the production process. Let's say I own a Ford dealership, and let's say Mr. Terry comes in and he says, all right, I need a fascia. I need to order a fascia for my car. I just got in an accident. We'll put in the order process. That order process will go into the plant. That plant will start producing that. They'll deliver that part along with other parts to the dealership. All right. So now the customer initiated everything with the dealership. The dealership initiated it with the plant, so on and so on. So that's how we start that particular process. Once we have the WIP working process for those who are not in production, when we have those WIPs, now we have a schedule, which has now become the product management. The product management also is a schedule that goes along with that. It tells us how many to produce ahead of time. Have anybody ever worked in a production company before?
Yes.
So when you worked in that particular production company, did you ever work with the schedule or see the schedule?
Yes.
All right. So when you see that particular schedule, if you miss that schedule, do you make money or lose money?
Lose money.
Lose money. Okay. So in that regard, now we're dealing with the production cycle. The product cycle. So the product cycle should be on a week cycle, and we can't get it there for the second week. We might lose on that customer. That customer might go to another place and get another different type of part. So once again, supply chain is I'm gonna say this again. I'm gonna say it 10 times. The supply chain is gonna be initiated by the customer. That customer is what we want to keep keep in the center of everything we do, everything we process. Everything is number one is the customer. All right. So now when we talk about the production, it's ready to be shipped. So now you have a shipping and you have a receiving. So as we're shipping out, we're gonna make sure everything is perfect to that particular truck. Let's say it's going into a box truck, and we want to be able to ship out as much as we can ship out and fill that truck up so that we're saving on costs, which is going to be a part of the supply chain, keeping the cost down and getting the biggest bang for your buck. All right. Has anybody worked for a trucking company here? All right. Does anybody know anything about trucking companies? All right. Don't be shy, everybody. Don't be shy. All right. So trucking companies, what happened with the trucking company? You have big truck companies, you have small trucking companies, you have medium-sized trucking companies. All right. So generally speaking, when you have a big production company, they want to use a medium to a large size trucking company. The reason for that is because you have a medium. Let's say they have 20 different 20 different trucks and or equipment. If they have one truck breakdown, generally they'll have somebody else come pick that load up and still take that load. It keeps the process going in the supply chain. For example, Ford, we're going to use Ford as an example. If Ford has an expedited load and that particular load is an hour late, we're talking about $3,200 an hour is what they're losing by having that truck down. So to put that into a perspective of what we're looking at as far as the supply chain, when you have the shipping and we have a window for the shipping to be picked up, and that particular truck is not there to pick it up. Not only is the company that's shipping it out backed up, but the company that's receiving those goods is going to be backed up as well. So now in the supply chain, we want to make sure that everything is moving seamlessly, which is why they use those type of companies. So XPO, to go back a little bit to the logistics side of it, what their main focus on when you're at this stage is being able to have other carriers, whether it be small or big. A lot of companies will sub out the work to an XPO, so to speak, so that they can find a group of small carriers to take it at a different rate. And now you're shipping cheaper most times, and you have a bigger range of carriers that can carry this kind of this equipment, which is going to get us to the next stage of the next slide. Can you go forward, Lauren? Retail. So as we shipping to the retail end, we're going to use the Ford dealerships as we're going to roll with the Ford. As we're shipping these parts to the retail side, we want to be able to get Mrs. Smith her part, or Mr. Terry his part, that will get there in time so that his truck or car won't be down for that long. All right. So once again, we're talking about the business to business sales. Business to business sales. Can someone tell me, retail wise, outside of the dealership, what's another retail business to business sale?
Sam's Club and some of the. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Like Sam's Club to some of the small gas station owners. They go in there and buy things and they sell it at their gas station. They buy it in bulk.
Yep, that's a great one. You know, so now when you're looking at things like that, and you get to the retail end, and it's all about saving costs and getting it to the end user so that the business can make as big a profit as you can. The retail looks like is at the end of the process, but in reality, this is a big circle. The retail side can be at the end of the process, or it can be at the beginning of the process, because the customer, once again, is going to initiate that. So that particular that gas station owner that goes into a Sam's Club and buys in bulk, let's just say he buys batteries in bulk. Well, he initiated that particular sale. He initiated that particular purchase to go back for the production company to build out some more of those and send it to Sam's Club. Sam's Club and Walmart is another great company that replenishes as they buy. So they have a different system. A lot of people can't keep up with that type of system, where if it comes off the shelf, it's already in the order to buy another one. So they have so many, because they sell so much, they have so many shipments a day because they're going through, they're replenishing product fast. Whereas Ford is not replenishing as fast because the dealership does not have a replenishment process in place, to sort of speak. The parts manager of that particular dealership will be able to go in and manually say, hey, we're low on this. I need to replenish this. But it's not an automated system as Sam's Club and Walmart is. All right. So part of the inventory. Go ahead.
I have a question for you. When we're comparing like Walmart to like the smaller grocery stores, why is it just because of the quantity that Walmart has that their supply chain is able to operate differently? Or, how can like smaller grocery stores, is there any way for them to compete against Walmart? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so Walmart, because of the amount of stuff they sell, and because the way they set up their supply chain, they put the money into it. A smaller company, they could compete with them, but is it cost effective? So now, if you try to compete and scale up to a Walmart, let's say a mom and pop store. Let's just say a mom and pop store have 4 or 5 different stores around one city, and they can't compete with Walmart because they can't allocate the funds to have that type of system. So the best thing that they can do is find the cheapest route, have good people, and train them properly to manage the inventory right. All right. So if you train the right person, when they go in, they'll look at the inventory and they know that it comes down to a certain buffer. Hey, I need to order more. So, and when you speak about buffers, you're going to find out buffers in a buffer analysis in product production. You're going to find a buffer analysis in retail stores. Anywhere you go, they got a buffer analysis. If they're doing any type of selling anything off of a shelf, they got to have a buffer analysis. All right. Do we have any more questions in the queue?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. All right. So for inventory management, when you're doing inventory management, as you see, that can be a huge part of the supply chain, because if I don't know I have to go out and order more parts, or I don't know the volume of which we selling widget A, then things are either going to sit there or they're going to deplete and not be replenished in enough time. I can have the best sale going on in the world. I can give you 5 pair of pants for $20. I'm pretty sure we all are like, all right, let's get those 5 pair of pants. Designer pants for $20. We're all running out there, but they're not on the shelf. If they're not on the shelf, I can't buy them. So now that's a missed opportunity. So that's all a part of inventory management. We've all been at a store when we're looking for a particular sale and it's just not there, or we can't find it. So what's funny about that is I was just out with my son buying him some soccer cleats yesterday, and go to the store, and he finds a shoe on the display. He tries the shoe on. He says, "I like the shoe." We couldn't find the right. We had the left, but we couldn't find the right. So now we couldn't buy that particular shoe. I ended up buying a cheaper shoe. So it was an opportunity sale that particular store missed out on. All right. Customer retention is. Go ahead.
Question on inventory management. Does inventory management help in pricing?
Absolutely. The more I can buy, the cheaper I can sell that price at, or the cheaper I can acquire that product at. Which is like what we talked about Sam's Club, BJ's, all those different stores. They buy so much in bulk that they're selling it at a much cheaper price in a much larger quantity than anyone else. Gas, for example, I know here in Michigan, they're always the cheapest. You have Costco and Sam's Club gas is always the cheapest, but they're running through so much gas they can keep that price there, which helps out a lot. All right. So the most important aspect of the whole supply chain, when you're looking at one company versus another company, is customer retention. It is the most important. Any word you can put on it, make sure you understand customer retention is absolutely number one. Because if you buy an item from me today and you like the item, and then you go over to store A and you buy their item, I just lost the customer. So the main thing that we need to focus on, one, having good product, two, having good customer service, and three, being able to be available to the customer. If you have those three things together, you should be able to retain that customer. You know, when you selling let's say you're selling a car to a person, and the salesman is just terrible. I think we've all probably had that experience. Salesman was not good, was not knowledgeable, and was not kind. That does not make me want to buy that particular car. So I'll go to the same dealership down the street to find a guy that's going to treat me nice, or a guy or a gal that's going to treat me nice, that's going to tell me a little bit about the product and have the product available, and I'll buy from that person. When it's time for me to buy another car in another 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, I'm going straight to that dealership, regardless if that salesperson's there or not, to give them another shot at selling me another vehicle. So if you don't treat them right, they're not going to come back. I don't care what business you in. It can be the best product, and you can have the worst service. They will not come back. I think there's only one business I can think of that is phones. People have been buying Sprint for years. The Sprint customer service has been terrible for years. That's the only service I've heard of. People keep coming back to it. But that's a contract. Can you guys name me some businesses with great customer service that you'll go back to time and time again?
Can I ask a question then?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was wondering, you saying with customers, is it with Apple? Because everybody's such great Apple users out there. Is it the product, or is it the service that has people coming back for Apple all the time? I'm just curious.
So
anybody?
I'm gonna tell you now, I'm biased. I am an Apple user. For me, Apple is seamlessly integrated with all my systems. One, because I have an Apple computer, I have an Apple phone, I had an iPad at one point. Everyone in my house has the same thing. So that's one for me. But then two, it's the ease of use. I can pick up any Apple phone and use it without any explanation. I gave my dad an Apple phone. He used it without a problem. My grandmother has an Android phone. It's the worst thing we ever did for her. She just couldn't figure it out. So that's just my 2 cents. Anybody else got any experiences?
I'm gonna give my 5 cents. I don't like Apple, so I'm an Android person. I was just curious. That's usually the number one company people talk about with in terms of service and things of that nature. So I didn't know if it's more the service or the product that has people coming back.
Anyone else got any experiences with Apple Android? Lauren, what you got, Lauren?
I've gone back and forth. So I've used both Android and Apple. And when I was an Android user, I was a devout Android user, but now I'm an Apple user, and it's all right. So for me, it's more like what my family uses. And if they're Apple users, then I'll use Apple too.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like with Apple, though, you're paying for the brand name more than the phone or the device.
That makes sense.
Just an interesting conversation. Now that we're talking about this, do you think it's when we talk about customer retention, and I was listening to Lauren's situation, people adapted to Apple because all the family, everybody else had it. So I'm looking at the customer retention. I'm seeing how that works with because everybody else does it, or is it because of the service, the product, things like that. So it's a little balance there when we talk about customer retention in terms of how retailers get customers in. So I guess you can see a little bit of a balance there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I particularly like I said, the ease of use, and then also, you know, like you said about the family, we can FaceTime anywhere in the country. You know, so that's the other thing. I do have one person in my family who has Android. My brother, he's just being difficult though. we gonna get him a switch. All right.
Mentioned in the chat, graphic designers rave about Apple, but the Photoshop, InDesign, and all of the desktop publishing programs work equally well on PCs. So he doesn't see why people are paying more for the art capability.
That's a good comment, because I do know some designers, and every last one of the designers I know, they do prefer Apple. And I know an editor too who raves about Apple's editing software. So that is a good comment.
Yeah, they're just buying the brand.
Yep. That is true. But once you get hooked, you know, and they treat you right, customer retention. There we go. Have you guys ever
problem with Apple?
Go ahead.
Their right click button on their mouse that
Lost you.
don't have one. How am I supposed to deal with not having a right click button on my mouse? I'm just teasing.
You broke up a little bit. We didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said Apple or Macs don't come with a right click button on the mouse. It's just one. It's just like a one clicker mouse. It seems very deficient.
Hey, I actually like it like that. I like. And yeah, it's
to each their own.
Yeah, it's definitely a preference for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. One more thing, Jason. Someone mentioned State Farm in terms of customer retention as well. So insurance companies, things like that.
So when you start getting into insurance and different things like that, I think you have a different customers that look at different things. I know for me personally, it's about one, the price. You know, in Michigan, you know, you guys, we're going through insurance reform right now. So if the price is cheap, all right, I'm listening now already. Then I ask other people, hey, have you had to make a claim with that particular customer? With that, not customer, but with that particular company. And if the claim process is a tedious process, that price might not be looking that good. Because if you ever had to make an insurance claim, if you have somebody that's trying not to pay your claim and you've been with them for years, that is a rough process to go through. You know, so State Farm does a great job of doing the commercials. Just like what's the other one with the guy with the D voice? Nationwide. They do an excellent job at customer service. Geico, excellent job at commercials, you know, different things like that. So, you know, when you start talking about service and things like that, it still comes back to the end of the day, customers and retention. Now, has anyone ever bought anything specifically because they seen the commercial and the commercial had you hooked? Everybody should say something, because I know it's Starbucks commercials get everybody. Nobody?
Ariel mentions Old Navy a few times. Yep.
Yeah, it makes you happy. See, Old Navy, they dancing and everything in the store. You want to go see if the dance is real.
I don't know about commercials off the top of my head, but I know I'll be watching a YouTube video and someone will mention a product and then I all of a sudden have to have it.
Yeah, that'll do it. How about food? I know I see something new. I say, oh, now I need to try that. I get up and go right then. Yeah, customer retention. There it is.
Yeah,
All
Bath
right.
Works was another one that was mentioned.
What you want, Laura?
Bath and Body Works, especially when they're having those
Uh,
annual sales that they're promoting. You got to get all those candles.
Smell good. Yep. Okay. Do we got any other questions about supply chain management? Anything job wise?
Jason, you mentioned something earlier. I was one of the people who can either in the chat or come out. You had mentioned raw materials, and you talked about that. Does anybody know some of those raw materials that are out there, I guess, when it comes to supply chain?
When you mean what type of raw materials?
Yeah, the types of raw materials that are out there. Because we always get finished products.
Steel, paper,
Yep.
oil,
Hmm.
things like that.
Screws, nuts, bolts.
Yep.
You would be surprised at what puts your car together or the replacement parts that you put your car together. You will be 100% surprised at seeing the process. A lot of stuff comes to the plant already together, and like I said earlier, you literally taking it and putting it in a box. Like big parts, grills, fascias, tires, they're literally taking it and putting it in a box or putting it on the pallet. You'll be surprised. So a lot of manufacturing suppliers and things like that are doing a lot of the work nowadays. Now it's not much getting fabricated in the plants these days.
Jason, I have one more question going back to the supply chain. Earlier you were talking about how one, minute late or an hour late can cost so much money. Are there, like, what happens when there are missteps in a supply chain? How does a company deal with that?
So from the transportation side of it, you can get fined. So let's say you have a company, you have a contract. Let's say you have a year contract with Ford, GM, any car manufacturer, and you're supposed to pick up on Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. and deliver, let's say by 1 p.m. And if you miss that delivery, in your contract it already will tell you how much you're gonna get fined or how much money you missed and all that stuff. So let's say each trip is gonna pay you $500 for that particular trip. And the contract might say, hey, if you're an hour late, we're gonna fine you $50 or $100 like that. And then the company, so what the company will do is, if let's say the driver just missed because the driver made an additional stop somewhere, took a lunch break they shouldn't have took, they will already have something in their contracts to fine that driver for that. So it's a cascading effect all the way down. So now when you get into expediting shipments and things like that, it's a lot more money involved. Like I was talking $3,200 per hour, things like that. So let's say for instance they're paying that company $2,000 to take that load. If you miss by 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they're gonna fine you $400, $500. But the expedite is an increase of payment for a reason. You can be going from Detroit to Windsor. You're getting paid because you're going between borders and you got to get it there on time. So, and if it's expedited, it's because they're doing something with production that's behind. So, knowing the whole scope of work is a big deal. It's a huge deal. But once again, those are already in the contracts that you will sign. And if it's a one-off deal where you're contracted through a broker like an XPO or Coyote or something like that, when you sign that one-off contract, it'll tell you in that contract how much you'll get fined as well. Good question. Any more questions? Comments? All right, Lauren, let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so we went through all the supply chain and an overview of different jobs and different things like that. As you see on this slide here, it talks about how you can, coordinate the different type of jobs. You can coordinate with suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, all that type of stuff. So the particular job, as you see here, like an industrial production manager and things like that, median they're making $111,000. It's a lot of those jobs open all over the country. Being at Washtenaw definitely helps get you a leg up and as you start going through these different courses and things, getting you ready for the work life. Or if you're already in the work life, you're just trying to get to another job. Washtenaw supply chain program helps with that. As you see in some of the other different things that you've seen where people that graduate from Washtenaw, they get jobs pretty easy. Washtenaw is a highly sought after program, and the students are highly sought after. You got guys like me and Mr. Terry that's been through a lot of these different jobs in the industry, and we're telling the guys, hey, Washtenaw is the place to go. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that. If you got any kind of questions or concerns, you can always get in contact with Lauren, Mr. Terry, or myself. My email is jdunlap, that's jdunlap at wccnet.edu. If you can look me up in there, you can always contact me if you want to know a little bit more about anything that's dealing with supply chain, or if you just got a question or just a comment, contact me. Do not hesitate to contact me. Do you got anything you want to say, leaving out, Mr. Terry or Lauren?
Yeah. So as we finish up, is there any other questions or points that anyone wants to make? You can either unmute or put it in the chat. If not, we are going to wrap up for this session. I believe I've got everyone recorded who's here for either Anthony Terry's class or Kalina Livingston's class. So we should be good there. I do want to thank you all so much for being here today, especially because some of you I know have now been through all 3 of the webinars, and hopefully we'll get to see you for the 4th one next week.
Nice job, Jason and Lauren.
I'm sorry?
Said nice job, Jason and Lauren.
Yes, thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
All right, yes.
I would say great job. No, not good. Great job.
I do want to get you out on time here. So we're going to go ahead and call it for today. Again, I thank you so much for your time. Please check out the final supply chain webinar, which will be talking about global supply chain. And we will look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you all so much for participating.
Appreciate it.